Perfect.
All right, everybody, what's going on? And welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk. Of course, this is a show we cover the SWAC inside and out. And I'm your tour guide around the SWAC. C. Wells coming at you. And today, as you can see on the screen, today we're going to talk a little FAMU football again. These are not our full previews. These are just, little questions and statements that I wanted to touch on before we get to the meat of everything. Our previews will actually start in July. So I have a schedule posted on my Twitter page, which is SWAC Talk 76, and on my Instagram and Facebook, which are both SWAC Talk. You can check that out, and it lists all the teams previews. I'm going to run from July to the middle of August before we'll wrap these up right before week 0, right before the MEAC SWAC Challenge. So we do have a MEAC SWAC Challenge preview that's coming the week of our final preview. So all of that is on the social. You can check those out. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And once you subscribe, man, once you hit that join button to become a member of the channel, there's a lot of really good perks that we have. You can check all of that out on the main channel, on the main page of the YouTube channel. We're making that march to 1K, which is, like I said, it's something that really would mean a lot to me. So we're getting there. So if you can hit that subscribe button, it would be greatly appreciated. Hit that notification bell to be alerted to any videos that I drop, and like the video, and feel free to comment. This is a very simple one, man. I mean, this is something that everybody has already said, has already known, and will continue to say. And that's pretty much this season for FAMU, which, I mean, when you're a team that wants to be a contender, obviously every year is championship or bust. But for this team, it really, really is Atlanta or bust. I mean, not just making the SWAC championship, but winning it and going to Atlanta is the key for this season. And that all starts 70 days from now in Miami, Florida, when they take on Jackson State in a game that's been a thorn in their side for the last 2 seasons. I know JSU got like a 4 or 5 game winning streak, but for two seasons in SWAC play, since FAMU joined the SWAC, they have not been able to beat this team. And they've lost it in a couple different ways. They lost one really close and got blown out in the other one. So, everybody knows that the season it rides on that game at 70 days, 2 hours, 33 minutes, and 24 seconds away. Who's counting? But that game is huge. Obviously, that game is huge. That game is probably the de facto East Championship game, which has been for the last 2 seasons, because Jackson State hasn't lost a SWAC game in those 2 years. FAMU's only lost 2 SWAC games in those 2 years, and those were both Jackson State games. And when you play a game like that early in the season, it's kind of like what I said in my Labor Day Classic video. When you lose a game early to a team like that, you need them to lose twice for you to be able to pass them, because the tiebreaker aspect. If they lose and you lose, if they beat you and then they lose later, they're still gonna win the division on a tiebreaker. So you need this team to lose twice for you to be able to pass them and not lose yourself. So there's a lot of pressure in this game. Obviously Jackson State is gonna still be a team to reckon with. We know they have a lot of new pieces, but they're still gonna be a team to reckon with. So who knows how the team is gonna do it? They beat you, maybe they lose another game, maybe they don't. So now you're looking at being able to weather the storm after that and continue to do what you've done for 2 years in a row. Can you do that for a 3rd year if necessary? I think one thing I do want to touch on is, I think what gets lost in the shuffle and all of the trash talk between FAMU, Jackson, FAMU, and everybody else is that this team has not lost but 2 SWAC games in 2 years. And a lot of times when that happens, you're a champion. this is similar to Southern in 2016 and 2017 when they were very, very good teams, championship caliber teams, but Grambling had a lock on the West and Alcorn had a lock on the East. So even though this team was finishing 7-1 and 6-2 in conference, they were not getting anywhere near the championship because there were teams that were much better that had beat them and were able to get there. So I don't want to lose what FAMU has done in the mix of trash talk. I mean, it's all good to to talk trash about them and clown them and everything, but it needs to be recognized that it's not easy to win 14. What do we play? Eight games. So it's not easy to go 14-2 in SWAC play over a 2-year span, and another team is going 16-0 in that span. That's not easy, so I don't want that to get lost in the shuffle of everything that's going on, because that does need to be recognized. I mean, obviously you're finishing second place, honestly third place when you look at the overall, because of the other team from the West making the championship and getting their brains beat in. But you're the second team in the conference, hands down. So you want to be number one, and the only way you're gonna get there is by going through that team. This team is gonna be on some people's ballots are gonna be number one. Some people are still gonna put JSU number one, and I don't think either one of those is wrong. I mean, obviously you can say JSU got a lot to prove, but FAMU is returning a lot of guys. They're losing some key guys. I mean, obviously losing a guy like Xavier Smith and Isaiah Land. Those are big losses, but this team returns a lot of guys. I mean, on defense, they return 6 out of their top 10 tacklers. So that's a lot of continuity in the secondary. You're returning a lot of talent on the defensive line. You have probably the best linebacker in the conference in Isaiah Major. If not the best, then at least one of the best. That's the talent is there on defense. I don't think defense is ever going to be a problem for this team. Offensively, like I said, losing a guy like Xavier Smith is a big blow offensively, because he was such a huge part of the passing game. I mean, he caught 87 passes last season. Jamari Shareed, who was second, caught 45. So he caught almost nearly double the amount of catches as the second place guy, and he almost doubled him up in yards. So that's a lot of production that's walking out the door, and he almost quadrupled him in touchdowns. So that's a lot of yardage walking out of the door, a lot of catches walking out of the door, a lot of touchdowns walking out of the door. When you look at the other guys who caught more than one touchdown on the season, there were only 3 other guys that caught more than one touchdown last season. So somebody has to be the guy. I mean, it's easy to say Shareed could be the guy because he's the leading returning guy. But then you get a guy like Marcus Riley from Bethune-Cookman coming in. You got a tight end like Jeremiah Pruitt. You got tons of other receivers. You got Kamari Young at tight end that can be a weapon. And like I said, you have tons of guys that you brought in at wide receiver, as well as guys like Oxendine and Manigo who should be able to take bigger steps. Somebody has to be that guy. I see a lot of people talk about the running game, but when you look at FAMU football the last 3 years, they have not been a team that really run the football. The 2021 season was kind of an outlier out of those, out of the 2019, 2021, 2022 season. In 2021, they ran for 157 yards per game and 4.5 yards per carry. But when you look at what they did in 2019, when they had a very explosive passing attack, they only ran the ball 105 yards per game and 3.3 yards per carry. They ran the ball 419 times in 2021. In 2021 and 2019, they ran for 354. Last season, they ran the ball for 345 times for 94 yards per game, and they averaged 3 yards per carry. And those are with some bruising backs. They just don't really run the ball a lot, and I don't think that's gonna change. I do think I feel like 125 yards is a good number it kind of keeps you, it kind of helps you grind the ball out. I mean, obviously, when you're winning games and you're converting 41% on third downs, you're not really having a big problem with short yardage conversions. I mean, you're a team that's really efficient moving the football, and that's with a quarterback who was new and didn't have a lot of experience, but you were able to move the ball um, in a very consistent way. You finished second in the conference in third down conversion, so the lack of running doesn't really hurt you that much when you can move the ball through the air. Uh, and you were very efficient in the red zone. You converted 79% of your red zone attempts into points. 26 touchdowns, which were the third most in the conference in the red zone. You actually had 10 rushing touchdowns. So you weren't even worse in the conference in rushing touchdowns in the red zone. Um, so you really were efficient with what you do. So I wouldn't necessarily see them change that. Um, Having more guys that can be explosive when they run the ball, I think it'll be a big factor to help them kind of keep defenses honest. But the key to me offensively is finding that guy to be the number one guy, and being able to spread the ball around. So maybe making it more of a depth of 1,000 cuts than more than one guy doing you in. And that's going to be probably the biggest step that Jeremy Musa takes this season, is being able to spread the ball around confidently and knowing where you want to go. Having that security blanket type of guy sometimes can hurt you. I mean, it didn't hurt them in terms of wins and losses, but it kind of made it a little bit more uneven numbers wise, because you knew this guy was gonna be there all the time, and you wanted to make sure you got him the ball when all else fails. Like I said, even with all of that, this team was second in the conference in passing offense, second in touchdowns. Only the 12 interceptions were pretty high. So you want to kind of cut that down. But this team was a very, very solid team in all aspects, and I don't really see that changing that much. To me, the only concern is special teams. I mean, they brought in some new guys, but this team is still built to get there, and getting there all starts and ends with that game in Miami. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, you win that game, you find yourself in a great spot. You still have to win the rest of your games, but you find yourself in a different position of being in the driver's seat. Losing that game, you got to wonder how that's gonna affect this team. Losing this game for the third year in a row, and with some tough games afterwards. I mean, you find yourself, maybe dropping a game you're not supposed to, or you find yourself kind of playing a game closer than you should, and those kind of things can hurt you. You needed a blocked field goal to beat Alabama State last season, so they may be better, they may not, but this season all hinges on that, and that's why you say it's Atlanta or bust, because it really is. There is no real opportunity to make it to the playoffs if you don't win this game. Because of the 2D2 games, I don't think that's going to be an option this season, and I don't think they want that as an option. I think they want to get to Atlanta for the Celebration Bowl, which means probably playing the championship game at home and then going to the Celebration Bowl. So this team is still built to be successful, and I can see them getting there if they can get past the Jackson State game. And like I said, we'll cover everything more in depth and do predictions and wins and losses and all of that stuff when we do our 12-team preview. But I just wanted to come in, and everybody else been chiming in on this, so I just wanted to throw my hat in the ring and say that this team is built for this. I mean, they are an experienced team. They're bringing back a lot of guys. They lost some big names, but they still have a lot of talent there and a lot of guys that are ready. They're bringing in a lot of guys. They've been really aggressive in the transfer market on both sides, from the FBS level and also the FCS level. They brought in a ton of guys. I mean, they just from the FCS, just from FBS alone, they brought in They brought in like 16 guys just from the FBS alone. And that number may have changed between the last time this list was put together and now. They brought in 9 FCS guys. So that's what, like 25. My mouth is bad. That's like 25 guys or so from FBS and FCS. So they brought in a lot of guys. So they're, we'll see how this goes, but they're loading up for this run. And I don't want to say this is the end, this is the end type of run, but they're loading up for guys, and they're putting their eggs in that basket, which, when you've done what they've done and didn't get anything from it, I think you have to do that. Yeah, I think you have to load up. I think you have to say that this is it. It's either now or never, and that's where they stand. So Atlanta or bust. It's plain and simple. Atlanta or bust, beat Jackson State, and hopefully have success, lose to Jackson State, and hope that this team is not as good as they've been, and they can drop a couple of games. I mean, you don't want to play a season like that, because when you play a season of hoping a team will lose, it's never fun. So that's pretty much where we stand. So with that being said, man, I'm your tour guide around the SWAC Seawells. I'm signing up out of here. We'll catch y'all on the rebound. We'll be back tomorrow. Well, we'll be back on Tuesday with another edition of SWAC Talk. Got the 99th edition of SWAC Smoke coming on Thursday, and number 100 is coming the week after. So y'all get ready, man. It's going down. We're going to have a lot of fun on that episode. Y'all make sure y'all hit that subscription button, and we'll catch y'all later. Peace.